Hello everyone, it's Path. Today we're going to do something quite familiar if you have been following my channel. Maybe the few of you, that I can count in one hand that actually started following me since the beginning. You know that I'm a data guy and I like to look at historical data. And one of the things that I like to follow are actually the prices of the booster boxes. And I actually do this from the very beginning of this channel, and I go way back into the XY era, but we're not gonna go so far back this time around. We're just gonna take a look at the Sword and Shield era booster boxes compared to the SV era boxes, and I'm also going to share with you which other boxes actually are doing the best in 2025 so far in the last 7 to 8 months time. And let's dive into it. So on the screen you see the Sword and Shield booster boxes graphs. This is from Pokédata, and this is one of the reasons I like Pokédata compared to other apps like the Collector or Shiny. Many of you have asked, what is the app that I actually use to keep track. I use Pokédata. Even though I can only do Pokemon products here, but I honestly only collect Pokemon, so to me it doesn't matter. But the main draw to me is actually the charts. I'm using the paid version of this, so I can make charts like this. You can customize with whatever you want. So for me, when I want interesting charts like this to look at the different booster boxes in the span of the 1 year, or even I can do it all the way back to 2021, how it looks like. But to us this time around, we're only going to look since the beginning of January until now. Everything is going up, as you know, so it's not news, but how much have they actually gone up? That's what we are more interested in. The same thing is quite true with Scarlet Violet era as well. Of course, some of them are actually less than 5-6 months old, and Distant Rival is only out for a couple of months since end of May, so we probably won't be looking too deeply into those sets. So mostly we look at the sets that are already released before January this year, so up to Surging Spark, so I can take away Destined Rival and Journey together. So yeah, those boxes from January until now, almost all of them have gone up, so we'll take a look at them. So if I show you this, the series names, these are all the 12 sets of booster boxes in Sword and Shield era, and then Scarlet Violet base up to SV8 Surging Spark, and this is the release date over here, and this is the number of years since it was released. So Sword and Shield base is actually 5.5 years old, is pretty old, and this was the price in January 13. There's a special meaning to this date, January 13, and I'm going to show you why later on, but generally you can just take a quick glance of the prices. Sword and Shield base and Rebel Clash, some of you may wonder why is it they are more expensive than some of the other boxes like the Battle Style, Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, and even the newer and supposedly better ones with Trainer Gallery like the Brilliant Star, Astral Radiance. Why is it that the Sword and Shield base actually priced higher than them? It's actually because Sword and Shield base and Rebel Clash is actually shorter printed, so in terms of the supply, there's not much out there, honestly. So this is the reason why they are more expensive, even though there's honestly not much chasers in the sets. If you look at maybe I'll just quickly show you what is in the set. So Sword and Shield base and Rebel Clash, so we can have a look, some idea about what is actually in the set. So the total set value for Sword and Shield base is only $467. The most sought after card inside is actually the Snorlax VMAX, the Secret Rainbow version, and the usual all-out version. So these two are the most expensive ones, and Marnie and many of the other rainbow cards and gold cards that honestly not much people actually like them, and that's of course the reason why it is not very expensive. Quite similarly with Rebel Clash, you have a lot of trainer cards. Team Rocket, who are the people who like Team Rockets, you have Giovanni here, the boss, and with Sonia, Dragapult, many rainbow cards that again is not doing very well. And again, the total set value I didn't show you is $462, so not very high, and that is quite surprising actually. When I was doing all these studies, then I was seeing, why is it that this set value is not high at all, but why is it that they are actually going for quite a high price? Later on I found out it's really because the supply is not much in the market, even back then, you know, when they are 4 years old, 5 years old. And the other sets like Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, Battle Style is much lower compared to the others for good reason. Again, their set value is not high at all, so I'm not going to show you, but it's basically similar. And of course, we are quite familiar with the other more popular sets like the Chilling Rain, Evolving Sky, Battle Fusion Strike, Brilliant Star, Lost Origin, and even Silver Tempest and Astral Radiance, like the more middle level set. I think the Scarlet Violet sets, I'm not going to just go into too deep, but you can look at the prices in January this year. It's actually a lot more palatable. You know, it seems cheap right now if you look back, you know, but at that time, many people are also quite surprised with how fast the prices are going, because we are honestly very used to prices like $110, $120 when they're still in print, and usually prices only started going up and up and up when they reach, you know, the 3-year, 4-year-old mark, when they are out of print like this. So this is more normal, you know, $180 when they hit like 4 years old maybe, or even 3.5, 5 years old, for those who are not so popular. But we are actually not used to seeing this. So the interesting thing was why January 13 is because this was when I made this video. I was looking at the sets, looking at the set value, the chase cards, and I was saying maybe we should avoid, you know, it would be a good idea to be careful around this series like the Vivid Voltage, Rebel Clash, Battle Style, Darkness Ablaze. And this was one of the video that I have quite a lot of people who were you know, mentioning Battle Style specifically, and they were saying that, oh, Battle Style is going to go up very high in prices after they sell off Pokemon Center. So at that time, I think Pokemon Center, you can still get the Vivid Voltage in US. You can still get Vivid Voltage and Battle Style booster box at MSRP, of course. And another person that says that Battle Style will go up, and there are actually quite a few more other people who agrees with what they are saying. So actually, after this video, this was something that has always been in my mind. Of course, in my mind, I will always say I believe. I think I probably say the same, you know, time will tell. You might be right. So I said time will tell, which is what I really believe, because there's no point arguing, and the only thing that can tell us who is right and who is wrong is time. So right now, I think it's a good time to take a look at this. And if you want to make a guess, here I actually noted down, you know, the price as of today according to Pokédata, but I know Pokédata is about maybe a few days behind time, so this may not be exact. If you look at the TCG Play or eBay last sold, you may find that the numbers is a little bit different, but please bear with me. Maybe this is probably a few days old data according to, but it is current according to Pokédata. And what I did was I also took the percentage difference between the current price and the price in January 13. And here you can see that everything is positive, everything goes up. Okay, even Surging Spark was going up for 3% in the last 7 months. But of course, this, you know, at that time, the Surging Spark price has already been going up very high. So it's a little bit difficult. I was actually expecting this to be a negative value, but I was pleasantly surprised that it's still positive. So here you can see the Sun and Shield base and Vivid Voltage. I think is the lowest, even when considering the Scarlet Violet era boxes. These boxes like Scarlet Violet base, one of the things that I immediately took notice is that even though these boxes are still in print, whether you're talking about the SV1 to SV4, which is supposed to go out of print in April next year, or the SV5, 6, and 7, even the SV5, 6, and 7, the series, you see that the gain within the last 7 months is still more than 50% each, which is honestly quite crazy, because normally this does not happen. Normally this kind of gain you only see it in older sets like this, you know, the older sets like the Sword and Shield ones, where after they go out of print, you may see gains like 60, 70, 80% within 6-7 months, then even though it is still very, very crazy, but at least it is pretty believable because it is out of print and technically you can't find any more. So whatever supply is there, they call the price, and if you want it, you have to pay it. But the current set, which honestly is still quite easily available, although you don't find them in shop, but there are many people who are actually exchanging hand in whether it's Facebook Marketplace, eBay, wherever it is. So honestly, the first thing that caught my eye was this is very, very surprising. All the sets from SV1 to SV7, let's not count Surging Spark for now, all of them actually gained more than 50% in the last 7 months, and is very, 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 very crazy, right? The gain is very, very high. And the other thing that interests me is, these few sets that I mentioned in my video back in January 13, that maybe it's not a good idea to buy them. So to my surprise, my second surprise is that they actually also did quite well. The lowest ones is 46% gain since then is Vivid Voltage, but 46% doesn't seem a lot in Pokemon sense. But honestly, if you compare it to a more traditional investment, 46% is actually a very, very good gain. But as usual, when you sell this, you have to take some discount from this amount because you have to pay platform fee and things like that, and you have to pay your taxes. If you sell it on eBay, you have to declare them. So this will end up to going to maybe around closer to 25 to 30% gain. Still, I think it's pretty good in 7 months time. At least you are not losing money, and any profit is a good profit. But let's rank this from the highest to the lowest. So again, just now I mentioned, usually we only see very, very high and fast gain for the sets that just went out of print. So typically the sets within 3-4 years time, when they just went out of print and people start FOMOing and trying to grab them everywhere, find them wherever they are, and especially in the bull market, people are willing to pay a very high price. So the sets usually that goes very, very quickly are the sets that's usually around 3 to 4 years old times. Surprisingly, the set that actually did the best in the last 7 months to 8 months time was actually Paldea Evolve. It actually even went percentage wise better than Lost Origin, just by 1%, not much difference, but they are just as good. And Evolving Sky, this probably took many people by surprise. People may thought that, oh, Evolving Sky is definitely the best performer, but it is not. It is still very good. I mean, 96% is a crazy gain in 7 months time, but it is about 10% lower than Paldea Evolve or Lost Origin. And then the next group is about those around 80% gain. Brilliant Star, Fusion Strike, Silver Tempest, Rebel Clash. This is the one that is actually surprising to me. But again, like I said, Rebel Clash is not, it's a set that is quite lowly printed, very short print run. So there's honestly not much supply. If you just look up for it in, eBay or TCG Player, you won't find much of this. So if someone actually look to collect this, it's not easy to find, and that is why the price is actually quite high and is actually even higher than this according to the latest sales on eBay. Astral Radiance and Battle Style is in the next bracket together with Obsidian Flame. This is another shocker. Obsidian Flame, I don't think anybody expected this to go up so fast, and it's only just 2 years old. And Battle Style, many people actually said that this would do very well because they have the alt art, but it didn't actually do better than, let's say, sets like Rebel Clash. Rebel Clash is actually doing better, and Paradox Rift and Chilling Rain, and they are in the 60 something% range, pretty good. And then the next ones are the next tier, the more current ones like the Twilight Masquerade and Temporal Forces SV5 and 6, and even the Scarlet Violet base is in the about 60% range. And then Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage are here, about 50% gain. Stellar Crown 50%, Sword and Shield base 50%. So as you can see, when we rank it this way, it is quite surprising because most people would have expected that the Sword and Shield ones would be ranking, you know, way up here, and then the Scarlet and Violet ones will be down here because nobody expect them to gain so much, so quickly, so fast, so early. Most will be thinking that the Sword and Shield would be the one that picks up because they are out of print. That is the traditional thinking. So this is something that I think many people do not expect, and many people are caught off guard. And so people who were actually waited to get in, because usually the older way of, you know, investing and buying the booster boxes was that they would wait until it almost go out of print, and then they will go in, so that, you know, they would say that the money is not a dead money, it's a smart money to spend it that way. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work this time around, because if that is true, then you would be buying SV base, Paradox Rift, Obsidian Flame, and Paldea Evolve at this price, which, you know, they're not even going out of print yet. They're technically about 6 months away from getting out of print. So if you still go by the old ways, you would have lost at least 100% in Paldea Evolve, you know, 7% in Obsidian Flame, 65% in Paradox Rift, and also, you know, about 60% in SV base. So I think there's a little bit of change of, you know, mindset is required. And also back to, you know, this video when I was showing these boxes that I avoid. Actually, I say why I avoid these sets. It's also because at the same time I actually bought, let me show you here, I actually bought Temporal Forces boxes in Singapore. I heard many people that say that in the US they don't have a lot of this and the print run is pretty short, but the situation is not the same in Singapore, because in Singapore, even in January, we can get this very easily. So you see here, I got, you know, a few cases quite early last year, but in December and January, I got, you know, 4 more cases at a very, very good price, 106, 107 USD. So 106 and 107 USD, so it is not the same as what I've just shown you over here, again, because the Singapore market and, you know, market in US and elsewhere, they are just not the same. So every area you have a slightly different market, but at the current situation, and honestly, the gap is a lot smaller. But I just wanted to show you the reason why I said I wasn't investing or buying, you know, Battle Style or, you know, even Rebel Clash, you know, 80%, 80.9%. You may think that this is very good actually, but to me, it was a no-brainer to buy Temporal Forces at 106, 107. Let's just say that is, let's make it 110. Why? Because at 110 USD, the risk factor is a lot lower. And honestly, if I use this number and I put it here, my Temporal Forces boxes would, be all the way on top, even better than Paldea Evolve in terms of gain. If I would have bought it at the market price like in the US. But of course, again, in Singapore, the Paldea Evolve at that time, probably I can get it cheaper than this. I think I can probably still get it close to MSRP in Singapore, which is okay, maybe close to this, $160, $170. I think I could have gotten them, but still at that time, because I could still get Temporal Forces at a very low price, it's honestly a no-brainer. So I went and get this instead of trying to buy Rebel Clash or Battle Style at a much higher price. Even though they're older, they're out of print, they're supposed to go up. So looking back, I think I probably made a pretty good decision and safer decision, I'll say. That actually guided my decision. I'm not very risk adverse, so I tend to go with the safer route. So it's always about what you can find, what you have access to. So what you hear from other people, from other PokeTuber, the other investment channel in terms of Pokemon, just take them with a grain of salt, especially if you are not even in the same region as them. So most of them are based in the US, some in the UK, some in Australia. But if you're not even in any of those countries, then you really have to look around your own area, what you have access to, and what is the market situation like. And you know, whether you can sell all this thing easily. If I've gotten, you know, Rebel Clash and the battle style, when it's time to sell, it's probably going to be even harder than selling Temporal Forces. But I would imagine it's not going to be, you know, worse than, you know, Rebel Clash or Battle Style or Vivid Voltage even. So yes, that's all I wanted to share this time round. I hope it gives you some idea. I'm not trying to give you any financial advice, but I think exercise like this is very interesting because it gives us some kind of reference and help us make our decision a little bit better. If I just bring this back to in terms of age, I think it's very, very interesting. So the next question I would ask and I would like to answer myself, maybe another year in the future, is that once this goes out of print, what is going to happen? Is this still going to go another 100% in the next 1 year, or it's just going to go flat and straight line for another year before it starts moving up slowly? Maybe this was already at the ceiling, who knows, but I honestly doubt so, because the other way you can think about this is that the Sword and Shield era boxes, they are just, you know, inferior compared to the Scarlet Violet era boxes. That's one way to look at it, because back in, if you just look back about 1 year ago, the prices on average, probably, especially considering the age, they are actually not as good as the Scarlet and Violet boxes. The only exception, of course, is Evolving Sky. But if you exclude Evolving Sky, most of the boxes in Scarlet Violet is actually outperforming the boxes in Sword and Shield at the same age. So if you go back another year for Sword and Shield when they are about 2 years old, 1 year old, I'm sure their price is not as high as what we are paying right now for Scarlet and Violet. So that's something else you would like to consider. So be very, very careful if you are trying to invest into the current sets. Try to find good deals if you can buy in that, and MSRP, it's pretty safe. Otherwise, I would really suggest caution. Be very, very careful, or be very, very picky. Maybe just go with the really good sets like the Surging Spark, Destined Rival. I think it's pretty safe, even though you have to pay a slight premium. But usually those boxes will do pretty well, because if you just look at Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, the Evolving Skies, Chilling Reign even, they are doing relatively well. You know, a Brilliant Star, Silver Tempest. So not much risk over there if you are thinking about long-term gains, holding it long-term. But if you are thinking about flipping short-term, I think you should be quite careful, because honestly, I do not foresee, or I cannot imagine if this will go up another 50 or 100% in the next 6 months to a year time. If that happens, I think we can safely say that Pokemon, the market, is probably in a full bubble by then. Right, let me know what you think about this. Do you think it will continue to go up, or it's going to, you know, the bubble is finally going to burst and everything will go down by another 50%, 30%, go back to MSRP? Let me know what you think. See you in the next one.